Welcome, my name is Colleen Tauke and I'm a sewing specialist here at Fons & Porter. In this Quilting Quickly tutorial, I'm going to show you how to put together various blocks that go into the quilt called Diamonds and Pearls. If you'd like to purchase this pattern, please visit our website. We are going to be using 10-inch squares and 2.5-inch strips of the same set of fabrics, and we're going to create a quilt that looks like this behind me. Spectacular. We're going to be using a tool for exactness, and one of the shapes, there's actually two sizes of this diamond in the quilt, and then there is a square and a square or a diamond square. So this is what we're going to work towards, but we're going to be using strips and squares along with a background fabric. Now I don't have the exact same fabrics, but for a stronger contrast, I've got blacks and grays and a white background. So what we're going to do is we want to first start with the cutting, and we're going to be using a tool called a split Rects tool. It's created by DEB TUCKER. I've got some highlighter glow tape on mine so I can remember which lines I'm going to be using for my pieces. You might want to do the same. So glow line tape, it comes in different colors, so if there's one color that you like or it is better contrast with your fabrics. We are going to be making small rectangles and larger ones, and we're going to be using this end as our cutting guide. And these pieces are a little bit oversized and then trimmed down, and we're going to be using this tool for the trimming. So what we're going to be doing to start is we're going to use a 7-inch strip of fabric for our background that you see here, and then from some of our 10-inch squares we're going to be cutting a 10-inch rectangle off of it in order to accurately cut our pieces. Now these are batiks. You also would be can be possibly using, need a ruler here quick, you might be using prints that have a right and a wrong side. Now in the batik world, kind of both sides can be used, but if you're using a print fabric, put your fabrics either right sides together or right sides on the outside, but keep it consistent all the way through. So a lot of times fabric comes off the bolt, it's right side on the outside, so it's wrong sides together. So keep them paired, so use two of them so you can cut mirror image at the same time. Now I've marked my 7-inch line. You can see I have it on the ruler here, and just in case, I would hate to bleed on video, we're going to cut that 7-inch piece off of our 10-inch square. I've got two pieces layered together there, as if you had two prints, and we're going to be cutting our pieces. Now the shape that we're going for is one that looks like this, and then that's listed as D in your instructions. And what we're going to be doing with the tool is it actually has a line that says cut a 7-inch strip. So I've highlighted it with the tape so I would remember there's my 7-inch strip. There's a heavy dark line along this end, and I've already, since these are pre-cut 10-inch squares, we've got a nice straight line to start with. So I can just line up the heavy line with the end of my strip, set it along the 7-inch piece here, and cut my first piece right off of there. So I've got mirror image items, or triangles, because if I were to open these up, they would be mirror image this way. Because they're going to be used in different places within your quilt, so we do need to create D and D reversed. And in your instructions it will tell you that, how many of each. Now I've cut that first piece. In order to cut the next one, it's a little bit confusing at first, but you just have to manipulate the ruler. Trust me, it's not too bad. You just rotate the ruler, and there's a little notch here that says second trim. Look for that. The instructions that come with this tool are really great. DEB TUCKER always does a wonderful job of illustrating her instructions. You set that second trim at the very bottom of your strip. The diagonal will match up with your last cut, and you make a cut here. And then rotate it again. It's not a flip, it's just a rotate. We're coming back to this side. My little sticker's going to be in the way. We can cut again, and you just keep going down the piece, and you're going to need to cut the desired number for the pattern that tells you. Now again, rotate, set that little second trim there. Just wanted to repeat it so you remember it's not a flip, but just a rotate of the tool. And you're going to do the exact same thing on your 7-inch strip of background fabric, the same kind of method. You're going to cut one, rotate, cut two, rotate, and just keep going for the desired number of background pieces. Once you get all the background pieces and the diamonds that you're going to be creating the prints, we need to construct the block. So what we can do, instead of doing all of the cutting all at once and overloading you, I just want to be able to walk through what one block looks like. So here I have matching pieces so you can follow along with my completed block here. I have a piece here, a background. The fun part is you can go in and you can lay out your pieces and create your diamonds out of all the different fabrics, and you can see that it's kind of a scrappy one. The original was done with some bright pops of color in there. I'm calling this one black diamonds. Who wouldn't want black diamonds? Okay. Again, this is a solid white fabric, so it's not really a right or a wrong side. Remember I talked about mirror image? There's where your mirror image, if your background fabric is a print and you need to keep track of the right and wrong, that's why we were cutting mirror image, because when you open them up, you would have right sides to the top. Okay, now, in order to create these blocks, what we're going to be doing is taking these two, putting them one on top of the other. You're going to have a little tiny triangle, very tip here. It's like a nice, it's a perfect triangle here, and then this one is going to run off the end in a nice little triangle. And that's good. That's the way it's supposed to be positioned. Let's take it to the sewing machine and I'll show you a little bit about the pressing and then the trimming of each of these units. So I've got that overlapped, just putting in a simple 1/4 inch seam and making sure, because you have bias edges here, you want to kind of make sure that you don't pull on them. Let the machine, just pull it under the machine. Don't pull it, tug it away, so we don't want it to become distorted. We're going to repeat this skill when we make the smaller of the diamonds, so it's a little easier to demo on a larger piece. So I've got my 1/4 inch seam here. Then I'm going to go in and press my pieces. We're going to set that seam and open the seam allowance to one side. So warm it up, set the seam, and then come in and open it out. I tend to like to finger press, just on batiks especially. It's so easy to finger press. That crisp edge you get when you finger press. Okay, so now my piece is created that goes here. And you're going to repeat that skill for all 4 sides. Okay? Now once you get all 4 of them ready to go into a block, you can go back to your tool. Pull my tool back out. Remember when I said something about oversizing? These are just a little bit oversized. So we can use the other side of our ruler. Remember that side that I blocked off with the tape? We can go in and line up diagonals and trim this block to be just perfect. Now my block finishes 3 by 6. There's a 3 by 6 diagonal line there. I'm going for this box right here. I want to make sure that all of my rectangle fits underneath this box. And now that it does, I can trim 2 sides. I'm looking for that diagonal where the 2 fabrics come together, the 2 prints, and that they fit inside the box. Now, I'm not going to remove the ruler. I'm going to rotate my fabric. The 2 sides that I just trimmed are now underneath. I'm going to put them inside my box, inside the box. And again, I'm on that diagonal line that goes across the block. Now, I'm going to trim the last 2 sides, and then I'm going to point out something to you that I didn't make a mistake. This is how it's supposed to look. If you look at the outer corners, that diagonal does not go into the tip all the way on either end. That's the way it's supposed to be because of this unusual angle. We're used to working a lot with 45-degree angles, and it goes right into the corner. It doesn't on this one. So if you have that little tab on each end, you've done it right. Okay, so you're going to want to create all 4 for a block. I've got some that are in pairs already. So I've got on the back here, you can see I've got joined together down the center, pressed to one side. Same thing here, and then just join those pieces together to create the large diamond block like this. Now that we've got those created, we're going to be doing the same exact technique with smaller pieces this time. You're going to follow your instructions. It's going to tell you to cut from your left some of your 2.5-inch strips. We're using the strips this time. First we used the squares, now we're on to strips to cut 2.5 by 4-inch rectangles. Those are the pieces that we're going to cut to create our little diamonds. Junior's come along next. Okay, so what we're going to do is we need to cut the pieces, and it's just a little bit, it's very similar in technique. We're going to be using a little bit different line again, since this is 4 inches tall. We're going to use the 4-inch strip line. See, I've marked it here. And we're lining up again that heavy line with the side of this rectangle, and we're going to cut here. Now, I've got 2 layers together. Remember we talked about mirror imaging? Right sides together, but this time we're going to waste this guy. Just a little waste. We're used to trimming and wasting a little bit of fabric. We're using these. Since we're off of strips, we need to have enough space to create the shape, and this is the one we're going to be using. So once we've created these are letter F and the reverse, because you're 2 at a time, so you get your mirror image there. You're going to do the exact same thing of cutting background triangles, just like we did the 7-inch. Do it a 4, same way, setting it on the 4-inch strip line, marking, and cutting again. So you have your background pieces. So once you have those, the construction is very much the same. You're going to be doing the trimming of your units, just like we trimmed these. So follow along with, if you can do the big ones, you can do the little ones. Simple as that. So we've got those 2 shapes. Now the last thing that we need to create for this quilt is the pieces that go in between those large diamonds. It's kind of that spacer bead almost looks like. It's a square, a diamond square is what we call it. And it looks like this, diamond square. And actually, if you go to the kind of the forensics of a quilt and then the diagrams, it actually has 2 rectangles on the sides like this. So that's how it floats between. So we need to create this. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a square of fabric. So it tells you how many squares to cut from your prints in your project. It tells you to cut background pieces. I think they're letter B, I believe. That's why I'm using, these are great, Post-it note, or it's little sticky dots to keep us organized. The B shape, we're going to cut in half diagonally. So you create pieces that look like this. And then you take these, we'll step it out here because we have a lot of pieces. You take the triangles, you'll need 4 of them all together, and you're going to put them right sides together with your square. You're going to have triangles that hang off each edge. If you're nervous about getting these lined up straight, you do the little fold and pinch method that Liz and Marianne made popular. Fold it, put a little dent there, fold this one, put a little dent. And the nice part is if it's like this, they just lay right one on top of the other, right, kind of like the fold of a book. And then 1/4-inch seam, do the same thing on opposing sides. Press them out. So then we have this. You need to press these the triangles to the outer edge. So I'm just going to finger press them here. And then repeat with the last 2 triangles. So you have one here and one here. The reason why we press is otherwise we have things like this. You want them to be pressed nice and flat. So here's one that's pressed. For those pieces within the quilt, remember you got to add those rectangles. So you put a rectangle on each side. And then when it's joined like this, it becomes the same width as the large diamond. And chains of those are created down through the center of the quilt. There's one place I want to point out to you. There is a spacer in the quilt right here. There's a rectangle of background fabric. So that the second chain starts down a bit and they're offset. So you do have those pieces to cut. Then you have an inner border to help everything float till you get to those diamonds that are on the outer edge. And you're creating diamonds in chains like this. And you're using a cornerstone Where did I put him? An individual one like this at the corner in that border around the outside, so it can make an L shape like that as it goes around the corner. The quilting on this quilt is really fabulous. If you'd like to see more of our Quilting Quickly tutorials, please visit our website. Have fun creating diamonds and pearls.